Hi, everyone. So, judge me if you want, but I still shop at Walfarts. I'm not gonna lie, I still do. Things are expensive, like you gotta buy within your budget, and we're not made of money, and so just I think I've mentioned that before, but yeah, we still shop at places that technically give me the ick, but this economy fucking sucks in this country, and I'm guessing in lots of other parts of the world, maybe, but definitely in this country. So you gotta do what you gotta do with the budget that you have. So I was at Walmart, and I haven't got on here, and it's been a while since I've talked about an encounter that I had with another human, but I had one. The autistic encounter with another autistic person that I don't think knows that they're autistic. So I just was like, oh, I think I did 75% okay in that social interaction, but it was still pretty awkward. And I know that she felt it too. So this was the second time that I saw Sally at Walfart. And some of you might be thinking, which Sally are you referring to? Because there's a few people you've called Sally. This Sally is the one that works at the vet clinic. I was just talking about her probably last episode or an episode or two ago. Um, but I saw her at Walfart's, and I was like, "Hey, Sally." I didn't say Sally. I actually didn't say her name. I just said, "Hey," because I don't remember her name, even though I've known her for like well over a decade. So we met in the same fucking aisle we met like several months ago, which was the cat aisle. Our favorite aisle. Um, and I really like Sally. So Sally comes over to me when she sees me. I was like, okay. Last time we saw each other, we awkwardly said hi. I said something stupid probably, and we went on our ways. But this time she comes over to me and she's like, hey, she's like, do you want to see my ferret? I'm like, yes, I want to see your ferret. So she pulls her phone out and shows me this ferret, and she's got this whole story about how somebody came into the vet clinic and was like, hey, there's this ferret. I feel like you would be a good match for this little guy. He just showed up on our doorstep, and you have to name him Lucky because he should have been hit over the head with a shovel because he looks like a possum, and he did look like a possum from the pictures. And so she's telling me this whole story, and you know it was kind of fun. So I don't really like being stopped really ever when I'm out and about. Just kind of leave me alone. But I like Sally. And we were very respectful um conversationalists in the middle of a store. We went off to the side and got right up against one of the aisles, so we weren't in the middle of people trying to get past us. And we were just aware of our surroundings, moved out of the way so people could get their food. And I just say this because other people could fucking do this. And isn't it shocking that the majority of them don't? What the fuck is wrong with these people? Just be aware of your surroundings, have a conversation, but get the fuck out of the way like we did. So that was a fun little conversation. And then we're about done talking, and I go to reach for the bag of cat food that I went in there for. You know, I know I'm not the only one that says this or thinks this, but like seriously, I swear I fucking go to stores, and the one thing that I go get, it's like not there, or it's very hard to get to. And I'm like, why is it always like I have to struggle with getting basic shit at fucking stores? So it was a bag of like specific like well, it's a bag of cat food, and it was all the way, I don't know how to describe things. It was all the way in the back, and you couldn't get to it unless you were a fucking child or a size 0. And me and Sally aren't children, and we're definitely not size zeros. And we couldn't fucking, like, she actually helped me. I was like, "You're helping me?" She put all her shit down. She's like, "I'm gonna try my best." And she like got in there, like half her body. Like, this shelf goes all the way the fuck back. Have you ever seen the Walmart shelves at, like, at least in the cat section, there's these rollers? Well, I don't see no stick thing. that can get a hold of whatever's in the back of that fucking shelf and pull it forward. There's no stick thing. How am I supposed to get this shit? So the one bag I needed was all the way the fuck in the back, and like she gets half her body in there, and I'm feeling bad. I was like, you really don't have to do this. I of course tried and I couldn't. She almost had it, and then I happened to glance up and I spotted a solitary bag of that cat food that I needed on the very top of the shelf, and both of us were about the same height. I was like, never mind. I was like, get out of there. I see it. I see it. I think we can reach it. So she gets out and she's like, okay, you're ready. And it was like this whole thing. Like we went through from like just having a quiet little conversation to like it was this big ordeal in the cat aisle, and we both got a hold of the bag and pulled it down, and that was nice. I appreciated the help. I appreciated that the vet assistant was willing to crawl inside a Walmart shelf for me to get a bag of cat food. Like that's a true animal lover and a just a good human being all around in my opinion. Um and then what happened was the part that like I don't know, seems lots of us autistic people struggle with, which is how do you end this conversation without being awkward? So, it was awkward, and I'll just leave it at that. We both were very awkward. We both probably felt very awkward. And that to me is a true autistic interaction. I was like, look at this nice surprise that I got while I was at Walmart shopping for shit that I don't want to be in this building shopping for. I saw Sally, and her little ferret is so cute. And then she showed me videos of the ferret. And then she's like, and I talk baby talk to the ferret. And she seemed embarrassed that she said that and she started imitating it. And I was like, you don't have to be embarrassed. That's how I talk to my cats all the fucking time because they respond to it. They like it. Why are people so serious when they talk to their animals? Do you ever see like a cat just fall to its back and roll over? Like, yes, I said cat, not dog, because my cats, two of them do this. If you talk baby talk to two of our cats, and they're in a good mood, they just flop to the floor, roll over on their back, like and give you their stomach like a fucking dog. And they're purring and they just love it. You talk serious to animals, you get a serious reaction from animals. So what the fuck? Talk like a baby to your cats or, whatever. But anyways, that was a nice little interaction that I got on here to talk about. Um so I'm pretty sure this was my first how dare you call the military a cult email. Um My brain's been pretty beat up recently. I wouldn't say beat up. It just has a lot going on. Brain fog, all the things that, I've talked about. But yeah, I got my first how dare you call the military a cult email. And I feel okay talking about it because I don't think this person even listens to me, this podcast, because the way that the email came across was gross. It doesn't sound like anybody that listens to me regularly would talk to me like that. And was basically like, what the fuck do you know about the military? So obviously, this person doesn't know me because I do know of the military. I was born and raised inside the fucking military. And I went in and did 5 years, and that was enough for me to be like, get me the fuck out. So, anyways, um, that was weird. But also, what was weird was I didn't feel offended. Yeah, I didn't feel offended. I didn't feel like, oh, fuck you, you motherfucker. I didn't feel the need to reply and say what would I say? Nothing nice, maybe. I don't know. I had none of those thoughts. I was like, this is fucking weird. Cause like I remember getting some like rude ass message a few years ago when I first started my podcast. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody would say this to me. Oh my God, I remember spiraling. I don't think I wrote them back, but I can't 100% say I didn't. But I'm in a much different space a few years later, which is now. And I just block and delete. This is what I do. Feels nice. But, anyways, I was like, oh, look at that. Look at that. Not having that negative reaction that um just sweeps over me right away when stuff like that happens. So anyways, that was nice. But I'm just gonna clarify, not for that person, but just in case there's anybody else that's like, oh, I was in the military for like 26 years. Like my dad did 26 years in the military. And so I'm gonna clarify and just say my opinions are my opinions. Are there serious people in the military with ethics and good intentions and like genuine integrity? Yeah, my dad was one of them. And they deserve respect, absolutely. Like, he wasn't a good father. Like, he was a decent human being, but I haven't talked to my parents in like a decade, so mostly because of my mother. And he's just because he won't think for himself is why I don't talk to him, because he just does whatever she wants. But anyways, he did 26 years in the military. He was like the reason why I went in there, but also because they were like, we lived in Japan and my mom was like, there's no other choice. You have to go into the military. What are you going to do? We live in Japan. Like that bitch didn't want to try to help me get to the States. And anyways, I've talked about that before, but he was a good service person. He did all of his shifts. He was a shift worker. He went where they told him to go. He did these TDYs is what they called them. I don't know if they still do. Temporary duties. So like they would send him not to the desert, but just wherever because he was in the intelligence field. So wherever he was needed in that field, like maybe it was in Guam or something, maybe it was um somewhere in the States. They would send him for 2 weeks, 2 months, could be a month, and like he would do a couple of these a year sometimes. um he was well respected. I remember when I was a kid and they did the like take your kids to work day thing, and he worked in what was called the elephant cage. There were these huge golf balls in Japan, and that's where like they worked near and out of, and so everybody referred to them as like the elephant cage because of like the wiring. It's just what it looked like. And I remember like thinking, and I couldn't have been older than 10 maybe. I just remember thinking like I was looking around at other people that worked with him, and they had such respect for him on their faces, and I was like, oh, okay. So I remember that giving me like a huge clue into what kind of a person he was when he was at work and how people thought of him. Um, and there's plenty of people like that, and I totally respect them, and they have good ethics, good morals. They're not who I'm referring to. Um, I'm referring to, so like when I say cult, I'm talking about like the culture and the methods, not saying like every single person is a cult member. So like, and I love cults. I mean, I love studying them. I love the documentaries. Um, there was several months where I went down a cult rabbit hole and found like bunches of documentaries on them, bunches of books. So it was a special interest for a long time. Now it's just one of those circulating ones. But like compare military culture to the characteristics of any group that's trying to reshape identity. So like basic training, aka boot camp, but in the Air Force it was called basic training. I think it still is. Basic training begins by stripping away individuality. So you're taught from day one to set aside individual judgment in favor of the chain of command, the collective mindset. And that's where you're introduced to like uniforms, identical haircuts, strict obedience, repetitive drills, chants, sleep deprivation. Um, what else? Isolation from your normal support system, rewards for conforming, punishment for stepping out of line. Um, so like the point is to break down civilian habits and build, quote, soldiers who respond as a unit. Which that's not exactly a secret. It's how military training has traditionally worked. And does it make the military identical to a destructive cult? No, because the goals and the outcomes and the ethics are like way different. And in lots of ways. They're just different. But like if you're talking about the psychology of identity reconstruction and group conditioning, then there's fucking undeniable parallels in my opinion. And that's the comparison I'm making. Maybe I should have just said that before, or maybe I don't have to explain myself, but like just in case anybody's wondering, like I'm not sitting here like pooping all over the military. I did do 5 years inside the cult. It's a cult in my opinion. I mean, look at what the fuck is happening right now. Like, just look. You can't tell me that there's people, like everybody in positions of authority that are the people that are like, yeah, like let's drop this bomb. Yeah, push that button. Like you can't tell me that every motherfucker doesn't fucking know that this is wrong what we're doing, that they all don't have any fucking clue what's going on. That's not the truth. When you're up in the higher up, you know, when you get to call the shots and like you make those choices, you often have the majority of the fucking information and you know like what's going on. Like granted not everybody in those positions do, but like the majority of them do. And there's people that are okaying this fucking bombing on Iran and all the other fucking crimes that are like being committed, like the war crimes, like they're okaying this. So like that's fucking cult behavior. Like and like a lot of these people, well, I shouldn't say because I don't know them personally. I only know like I can't speak broadly. I'm just going to stick with what I know and what I've heard and what I've seen regarding the news sites that I watch that I trust and the stats and stuff, articles that I look at. Um like these people have been in there for like 15, 20 years making these decisions to continue this war. And yep, that's what the president says to do. Yep, that's what the Secretary of Defense says to do. We're going to keep doing it. And like obviously you must be stripped of your fucking individual thought, or like you're just one of the other ones that are like, yeah, this is fun. Yeah, bomb the fuck out of them. Like you're in one of those two camps it seems. Or like the third one where you're fucking pussy and you can't just be like, "No, this is wrong. I'm not doing it." And it's easy for me to sit here and say because I did 5 years only. I only did 5 years. But like I grew up inside that culture. I was raised on military bases, two of them in Japan and in Hawaii. That was it. They were military bases. I was around the culture, I was around the mindset, I was around the people. And it's not saying that like my upbringing was a cult and everybody was like, in it's it was normal upbringing regarding I don't know how to describe it. Like being raised on a military base was fine. People in general were normal people, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But like within the military, when you're in there, you're just a thing that they can tell what to do. And you have to do it and you're not allowed to question it even if it's like the wrong decision. You're supposed to still follow it is what the mindset is. And the one thing that I always disagreed with my father on, and I argued with him to like about it even like probably months before I stopped talking to him altogether when I cut my parents out of my life. He would say shit like do first, question later. That was like the one thing that he took away from the brainwashing in basic training was you do first, you do whatever you're told first, no matter what questions you have about it. And then after you do the thing, then you can ask the questions. And I even as a kid, I was like, that's so dumb. I was like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Because what if you're being told to do something that's unethical, that's wrong, and you're still saying to do it? So, like, that part I wholly disagreed with, did not respect that mindset. I was like, no, no, no. So that's why I only did 5 years. The typical term that you did, I think you still do it, is like 4 year. Well, it's 2 years if you're single. So like you do 2 year reenlistments. So after my 2 years, I reenlist for two more. And then once it came close to like reenlisting after the fourth year, for like I just reenlisted for one more year. It was this weird option they gave me because I was in limbo. They were trying to kick me out of the command post field and push me into another field because they were like downsizing all across the military. And I didn't want to go into any other field because I already knew my job. And so they gave me a year to figure shit out, and I decided, nah, I'm getting out. Bye. Glad I did that. I don't know where I was going with that. But anyways, so when I was in the military, my experiences were like, you do whatever we tell you to do. We don't care what your thoughts are about it. And when it comes to performing my actual job, I get that. No problems with it. I was never asked to do anything unethically when it came to like my job. Thank goodness. Because what the fuck? You know, I probably wouldn't have gotten I wouldn't have gotten an honorable discharge. I would have gotten a dishonorable one because I wouldn't have been okay with whatever they would have told me to do, you know? So thank goodness that that never happened. But like just being treated like a shitty human being made me feel like a shitty human being, you know? Like, we don't care that you worked 14 hours from 6 p.m. to like, what's 14 hours? 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. Like, there was one night I did like this long shift, not just the one night, but like this one night I remember I did this long shift, 14 fucking hours. And it was going to be 45-minute drive for me to get home because I lived off base at that time in my own house. And those motherfuckers were like, PT is in 30 minutes. Make sure you get changed and we'll see you soon. And I was like, I just got off a night shift. Because the night shifts were 12 hours. So it was already 2 hours past when I was supposed to leave. And you're telling me to go to fucking PT. And then by the time that would have been done and I got home and took a shower, I would have had maybe like 2, 3 hours of sleep if I could get to sleep. And I would have to go back to work for another fucking night shift. That mentality was ridiculous. They didn't see anything wrong with that. And so, like, I was constantly fighting them on that. I was constantly not showing up to PT or showing up and not doing anything. Like, it was a fucking problem for me because I was like, why is there nobody else in this fucking unit saying anything about this? Like, I work with a bunch of fucking lemmings. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm okay with like 2 hours of sleep. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm here. Like, no, command post. That's like one of the most important jobs that you can have in the military. You need to be fucking awake for that job. You make life and death situation or life and death choices. Like, you have situations that come across your desk like every fucking day. Multiple situations that you have to think quickly. Like, I'm not even joking or exaggerating. Like, you have to know those checklists, like where they are, what books they're in. That's why I like that job so much. They had checklists for like everything. Step one, do this. Step two, do that. Step three, do that. That's why I love that job. Told me what to do. Never had to question anything. Sorry, I don't know why I'm talking like this. How much time have I spent on this shit? 23 minutes. Let's just wrap this up and do like, a shorter episode that I've been doing lately. I think you get the gist. Like, it must be sad to just want to sit there and like shoot off like an angry little rant to somebody because you heard an episode you didn't agree with without like bothering to. You could have just worded it differently and been like, hey, how come you think this way? Like, approach with curiosity, asshole. Don't be an asshole. So, anyways, I hope there was something autistic in this episode that came out of my mouth. And um, I just want to say, and I'm sorry if this sounds ignorant. I don't mean it to sound ignorant. I know I said I would wrap it up, but I just want to say it's weird seeing on the news places that I was stationed at when I was in the military. I was stationed in several, not, well, I traveled around the Middle East when I was in the military, and it is weird feeling to see those places destroyed. Like one of the images, I was like, oh my God. Like I recognize, like it's just as weird. And then I'm sitting here and I have memories of like being in the hookah bar we had. And we were like, you weren't allowed to drink because it was a dry area. Like that was just the country's rules or whatever. Like alcohol wasn't allowed, but hookahs were. And I remember like there were good times that I had when I was stationed in the Middle East. There just were. back in the early 2000s, you didn't really have cell phones. The internet wasn't the greatest. You had to entertain yourself for the most part. And I have a lot of good memories from friends that I made back in those days. It's just weird seeing those places destroyed. And I just fuck war. Just fuck war. Like me saying that is helping nothing. I get that, but like war helps nothing. This is gross. Seeing like bombs being dropped on like just it's gross. And I wish this would stop. Anyways, I'm just gonna go now. But hey, good news. It sounds like Evil Dick is gonna croak. Like, I am full of shit about a lot of things. Like, there's episodes on this podcast to prove, like, I've been full of shit. Remember, for anybody who's been listening all along, remember when I was like, oh, Kamala's gonna be president. Oh my God, things are gonna be great. Remember when I was like, so, like, dead set on that happening and it didn't happen? So I was full of shit. I don't really think I'm full of shit on this one, though. Like, have you heard Evil Dick recently? He sounds like he's got some frogs in his throat that are trying to fucking suffocate him. And you know what I say to those frogs? Ribbit, ribbit, motherfuckers, do your job. Suffocate that motherfucker. I was talking about Evil Dick. I didn't say anybody else. Evil Dick can be anybody in this episode. Oh my God, I gotta go. Bye.